think it's for America to stake its claim. 4 or 5 days ago, the White House spokesman said that America wasn't going to, White House wasn't going to say a threat from Russia was imminent. They said that was not appropriate language. And several days later, 72 hours later, we got Jake Sullivan saying on the morning show in America that the attack is about 70% perfected and it could happen at any moment. Well, this is true. I have a very different take on this. I think Putin has called America's bluff. I've always thought this is more of a Cuban Missile Crisis for Putin. He's worried about NATO in Ukraine. He's worried about first strike weapons on the border, and it's only 449 kilometers to Moscow from the border. So he was worried about the nuclear balance. And he wanted the United States to guarantee that NATO wouldn't go any further and there'd be no first strike weapons. This could have been handled very easily the way it was handled between John Kennedy and Nikita Khrushchev in 1962. The Americans no longer threatened to invade Cuba if the Russians took out the missiles. That's the kind of deal he wants. I think Putin has sort of won this war. I mean, diplomacy is about leverage. It's about getting more than your position allows, but not less than your position requires. It's put this relentless pressure on the United States. And I think Joe Biden has blinked. It's quite clear to me that the United States is not going to fight Russia over Ukraine. It's quite clear to me that NATO is not going to fight for Ukraine. Ukraine is on its own. And it's quite clear to me that Putin has solidified his cooperation with the Chinese. So there's this entire front against, and NATO's not working. The Germans are ducking for cover. The French want their own deal. They've even talked about appeasing Putin. I think Putin has won this one. So no, what we have to do is provide Putin with an exit strategy where he can actually go away, and he's won all the things he's going to win. I mean, there's no chance Ukraine's going into NATO, and there's no chance there are going to be first strike weapons there. I'm just sorry that the United States did not, the diplomacy failed. All the people in the U.S. were talking about other things when Putin was talking about nuclear balance of power. So I think Putin's won this one, and that Biden is simply going to have to wear it. I think we have to find some way for Putin to back down without losing face. I mean, he hasn't lost face. He's proved very clearly that no one's going to mess around with Russia. Russia's a superpower. I mean, superpowers don't bluff. He's got 6,000 nuclear weapons, thousands of tactical nuclear weapons. He's not some tin horn dictator like Saddam Hussein. You can't push this guy around. And I don't think the United States is taking him seriously enough. So I think the French overture to Putin would be a very good idea. I understand Macron is going to be in Moscow if he's not there already, to provide him with assurances. Now, these are not going to be public assurances. These are going to be assurances, private assurances, that there will be no first strike weapons there and that Putin can get what he wants. Now, keep in mind, NATO only works when 30 nations all agree to one policy. And that's not going to happen. I mean, the Italians duck for cover. The Germans are worried about the heat this winter. The French want a separate deal. They want their own autonomous approach to both Russia and to China. So Putin's got plenty to work with here. But I think a deal can be cut, and the United States will agree to it beneath the surface. The problem here is that the United States has pursued this as a human rights policy. This has got nothing to do with human rights. It has to do with the balance of power, and much of the problem there in that neck of the woods is of the West's own making. As I pointed out on this show about a month ago, if the Russians were at the Niagara Falls across from the United States or across the Rio Grande with 60 battalions, there'd be war in the morning. I mean, I think it's quite clear what's going on here, and I think Putin has proved his point. Putin's a very good poker player, and I think he called Joe Biden's bluff in that Biden's diplomacy and his State Department really wasn't up to the task.